Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. We are already on a party train. So excited for our guest today. And we were having a ball and we almost forgot to even record this. So it's going off on wild tangents about where all of us live and where we visited. We are joined today by somebody that actually helped me personally launch my entrepreneur journey years ago, as I was obsessed with his YouTube videos, his Youpreneur information. And I know that you all are going to get so much value out of his journey and his brilliance today. Our new buddy, Chris Ducker. Thanks so much for joining us, Chris.
I am so scared right now. You two are.
Well placed.
This is a very intimidating situation for me at this current moment in time, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
We have that effect on everyone. Trust me. When Rob Angel, who created Pictionary, the biggest game on the planet, came into our little Zoom room, he was kind of like a deer in headlights. He's our best friend now. So it's all good. It all ends well. You just don't necessarily know from the beginning. Okay. And
the fact that there's an ocean between us doesn't hurt either. So I'm just going to put that out there.
This is a good point.
Where actually are you, Chris?
So I'm based in Cambridge here in England. And we've been back here now. If you've been following me that long, you know that we were based over in the Philippines for a long time. But we've been back here now for 2.5 years, and we love it. We love being back in England. It's great. I'm looking out over the English countryside here out of my office window, and we're very blessed.
Wow, fancy! I'm looking at snow, Chris. I'm looking at snow that won't stop coming
down. We had snow for about an hour about a month ago, and it was unforgettable. Geez. That was great.
The states are upside down and backwards. We've got it in Texas. We've got it here in Philly. It's like, all right, well, we're going to have a white Christmas in 21 because it's still going to be here. It's never going to stop. Okay, so I digress. So here's the thing that actually makes me smile. I'm looking at your website, and for all of you that don't know Chris yet, the website tagline says, helping entrepreneurs build a profitable, future-proof business. It should have after that ... because you do so much around that topic and it extends so far. But I have been so interested ever since that we connected through Clubhouse to be able to schedule this interview. I'm so interested in how you got into all of this. I said to Mary Fran, I said, Chris is like the kindest giver. You are constantly giving information and value to people's lives to help so many people build their businesses. But let's take it way back, Chris. Tell us all about the journey. How did you get into this?
Oh my gosh. I guess at the core, when I look at myself now still, after kind of almost 17 years of building businesses, I still look at myself as a sales and marketing guy. That's it. One, I'll bet with a slightly dodgy voice because I've been batching videos over the last couple of days. So I apologize for that. But that's what I do. I'm a sales and marketing guy. I left college 6 months in, much to my father's dismay. Guy didn't talk to me for like 3 months. And he's an intimidating dude. He was like 6'4". He was a scary man. And when he doesn't talk to you, that's even scarier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
so, yeah, I kind of, I wasn't feeling the whole further education thing and got involved in the publishing business here in the UK. And I was in that business right the way up to the year 2000, late 2000, when I went out to the Philippines. I was headhunted and went out there to manage sales teams. Did a couple of years of consulting work over there, bumped into the infomercial industry as well. Hung out with guys like, Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank and all those kind of guys. And did a lot of the whole kind of the scripting, the voiceovers, the kind of, but wait, there's more if you call and all that kind of stuff. Like I did all that kind of stuff for a while and it was fun. But I had a little bit of a kind of a mini breakdown after my father passed away in 2002. And my mom went a couple years before him, then my father. And that was like you start kind of looking at your life and what's going on. And you're thinking, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Et cetera, et cetera. And so I kind of took a bit of a break for a while, met my wife, fell in love, obviously got married. And then we said, what the heck? Let's open up a call center facility. I've got great, contacts in the industry. We got all the manpower we need right here. I feel like this is a good opportunity. 4 months in, we were almost bankrupt, and we had to go back to basics. And for like 2-3 weeks in a row, I just hit the phones hard. I went back to how I was initially trained as a lead generation guy, and I hit the phones hard. We were able to save the business, and now we're almost 14 years in with that business. It's a multi-7-figure annual business. I haven't run it day to day for probably close to 6 years or so. It's got 400 people working for it. And that continues to kind of like fuel all the other stuff that I do, because I got that financial runway to play with. And sort of, 2010, we opened up the doors to Virtual Staff Finder, which is our VA recruiting company. And we kind of bridged the gap between busy, stressed out entrepreneur and experienced VA in the Philippines. And so 8,000 VAs have been hired in 10 years, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
And then, 5-6 years ago, we opened the doors to Youpreneur. And, out of that, a second best-selling book, annual conference, memberships, products, coaching programs, and all that fun stuff. So I'm a blessed dude, and I'm well aware of that, but I just want to kind of caveat all of that by saying I've worked my ass off, so I deserve every single thing that I have, plain and simple.
I love that. I love that. You take action all the time. And that's the thing that Mary Fran's always kicking me about. Like, you can't just sit there and bitch about it. You have to take the next step of action.
But it's not just about taking the action, it's about taking intentional action. Right? Like being intentional with the goals that you set yourself, the things that you learn, that you go out to learn, to pick up, so that you can plan more goals, so that you can execute on those goals. And so that's kind of what I'm all about. And to your point of kind of being a giving individual, I'll never forget seeing, I think it was an Actor Studio interview with Kevin Spacey many years ago. And he was talking about how he met Jack Lemmon on a film set years back. And I'm a big movie buff, so I love all this stuff. And so he said to Jack, like, when you reach the top, you gotta send the elevator back down. And so that's kind of the things that I'm kind of focused in on, is following Jack Lemmon's kind of thoughts around it.
Now there's
hopefully sending the elevator back down. Not Kevin Spacey's, just Jack Lemmon's.
Yeah, I was going to say. So here's the thing that I love about the stuff that you were talking about. Right off the bat, you hit points that are near and dear to our hearts. When you talked about, at heart, you are a sales and marketing guy. Kristen and I talk about everybody having this unique brilliance, this thing that's just yours. And from the beginning, you recognized what that was, but then you took it to other places. And not only did you take it to other places, you empowered other people by using your own transferable skill set. So, in creating other businesses and then funneling it down to a group of people who Kristen and I were talking before we started to record. You wouldn't necessarily think of building a virtual assistance business in the Philippines. Like,
right.
Who does that?
Well, that was, they came about because of problems, right? Like, I'm just a big believer. If you want to become successful as a business owner, just provide a solution to somebody's problem. It's really that, like, don't overthink it. It's about as crystal clear and as brilliant as that. And so it was August 2010. I was already building out my own personal army of VAs to help me continue to build our businesses. Some were in the Philippines, some were scattered around the world. I now work with a team of, probably an average of 12 people working on my personal brand and what we do at Youpreneur at any one time. And they're literally all around the world. They're not all in the Philippines. They're everywhere. One not too far from you, actually, in New York. So, it just goes to show you, like, we are no longer kind of screwed by geographical constraints when it comes to finding the right people to help you build your business. But the business itself, the core element of that business must act to be able to solve a problem or provide a solution to someone's problem. So August 2010, I'll never forget it. There was a guy called Michael. He had the Johnny Bravo cartoon character kind of avatar graphic. And it was a blog comment on a blog post that I wrote about VAs and building a virtual team. And this guy, Michael, turned around and said, hey, if there was only a place that I knew personally, like I knew the people running the business, that I could find a good VA, like I'd pay for that, hands down. 2 weeks later, we opened the doors to Virtual Staff Finder. So and it was like a one-page website with like a big buy now button. It was not the thing that you see today, which, by the way, is between us, desperately needs an upgrade. We have not updated that website for probably 5 years now, but like, because it works. That's why.
Yeah, you don't have to
updated it, right?
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. And so, that at the core element, I think, of every entrepreneur is they've got to be a problem solver. And all I did was listen to my community, listen to my audience, listen to my customers, listen to my prospects, my viewers, my subscribers, my listeners, whatever it is. If you listen intently enough, people will tell you what they need help with. It is on, to your financial peril if you decide to ignore what they say and not develop what they need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people fall into that. They say, I know this topic, and I'm going to give you everything I know about it, but then it doesn't land because that's not necessarily what people want to know about that topic.
Right. Exactly. And people don't want to do the unsexy work. So like I'm a big, proponent of talking about the fact that you've got to do the unsexy stuff before and also after the sexy work, right? So it's, day to day, what I do now is I oversee our group of companies, but really what my real day job today is a business coach. I help people build businesses based around their expertise. That's what I do through our coaching program. And so for me, the sexy work is coaching my clients, right? It's a one-to-many setup. So there's no one-on-one. It's me with a group of people. And that's the sexy work. But that doesn't mean that I don't have to work with my team to plan out launch dates and stuff envelopes from time to time and, reorder freaking stickers if need be and all that kind of stuff. Like that's the unsexy work, but it fuels all of the sexiness. There's a lot of sexy up in here right now.
We're feeling it. We're feeling it on the other side.
Chris is bringing the sexy back to the spreadsheets. That's what I run in the opposite direction of.
Yeah, spreadsheet. But you know what? That's actually a valid point. And I think people lose sight of that, particularly, in this virtual world where we can kind of make things look the way we want them to be, regardless of whether that's the reality or not. And even that requires effort. Like if you're going to put effort into making yourself look good, make sure you do the work behind it to be sure that there's actually some substance there. Because if people come to you because of an appearance and there's nothing there, you're done.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And also like show more of the behind the scenes as well. Like that's a big thing for me. Yesterday I shared a picture of my dog laying on his back with his paws up in the air, which is what he does when he's done something wrong. And I kind of looked at him first. I was like, what are you doing? Like, I'm looking for like a poop on the floor somewhere or something. I don't know. And he had eaten my 3-year-old daughter's, spaghetti. And you could see like these orange around his mouth. I was like, dude, what are you, seriously? So I took a photo and I put it up on Instagram stories. And I was like, does anybody else's dog do this when they've done something they should? I get more engagement on a post like that than I would do if I was to drop some sort of business value bomb. You know what I mean? So you've got to find that balance as well. I think it's important.
I think that's hilarious too when that happens. One time years ago, I ended up in my work for the blind community. I was going to Congress and getting this big thing passed. And that morning, I'm in the hotel and I had rollers in my hair, right? And I took a picture and said, look how presidential I am. I'm headed to Congress. And then that darn thing got more engagement than anything I had ever done ever and my mom was like, you put your hair and, like that on Facebook.
Because it's real. Because people want to do business with other like actual people. I call that my P2P philosophy of building relationships. B2B, B2C, no more. P2P, people to people. One of the most engaged social media posts I've ever put up was on my Facebook page a few years ago now. and it was helping me pick what tie to wear on stage at a keynote in Vegas. It was ridiculous. Like hundreds and hundreds of people voted on this thing. I'm like, this is stupid. Like, you know, but you can't recreate that 3 times a week for your Facebook page. It's just not possible. So I think it's important to obviously, you know, have that realism, but understand that you can't survive on that. Like, you know, you've got to be relatively scheduled as much as you can as well, prepared as much as you can as well.
Yeah.
I think it also levels the playing field immediately between you and your potential clients. When they see that reality and they recognize that, oh, geez, I did that. If this guy did it and he's successful, then there's automatically a connection built. So being real and authentic, and then having the goods behind the scenes to support it and actually give people value, sound like the combination.
I could not agree with you more. And I think probably the one thing that I get asked about the most, you know, if I come off a stage somewhere, you know, when it's not illegal to like go to live events, you know, that sort of thing. But when, you know, when you come off stage or you meet somebody at a book signing or, you know, something where there's a gathering, the one thing I get asked about the most more than anything else is my burnout. Because I tell the story of how I burnt out going into 2010 after building the business and, you know, 170 employees, you know, first 7-figure year. And I'm in hospital, you know, on the IVs because of liquids and dehydration and antidepressants. And, you know, two years later, direct result, I'm having an L5-S1 spinal fusion because I've crushed the lower part of my back by sitting down in a cheap ass chair for 16 hours a day, 5 years straight, trying to build a business. Like people don't talk, that's the unsexy stuff.
Yeah.
But when you share it, oh my gosh, it's a game changer because everybody knows how that sort of type of thing could either feel if they haven't actually experienced it or does feel if they have. It's a double whammy all the way.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, Chris, when we started the show, it wasn't intended to be like this. We were supposed to be out on live stages around the world with my, you know, Kristen Smedley has a dream. We were going all over the world, right?
With your hair rollers,
Yeah, with my rollers in my hair. And then, you know, everything shut down and we just decided to turn on, we knew about Zoom and turned on the cameras and just started interviewing, you know, and then oh my gosh, the guests got bigger and bigger. But to your point of hearing people's unsexy stories, I mean, I'm a single mom, right? I got all this stuff going on and I was struggling with, my kid was home from college and upset and all this stuff happened. We went live every day talking to people, and every single day hearing their story of the reset and rise brought me out of that pit. And it was like a daily darn thing to get me out. Plus Mary Fran texting me saying, put your big girl pants on, get to Costco and get the kids food and come home and stop crying in your Jeep.
I love the sound of Mary Fran. This is great. We need to hang out.
We do. Oh, I'm telling you, I used to have long hair. It all fell out when I started working with her. So now it's short.
Don't get me started on hair loss, ladies. Oh.
Yeah.
So, I got to tell you, I was looking at all of your stuff prior to the interview. And obviously I know you from before, but, you know, just to do my little due diligence research. And all I kept thinking was, this guy's like the freaking Wizard of Oz. Like he knew about all this virtual stuff before all virtual stuff. Where did this come from? How did you get this brilliant idea? You were like this seer of 2020 before it happened.
I think, I don't know, like, again, it goes back to like solving problems. Like I remember it was probably 2000, I'm going to say late 2008, early 2009. I picked up a copy of The 4 Hour Work Week. It was very new at the time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, prior to that point, I'd worked with freelancers. I, you know, worked with a graphic designer to design a logo or a web developer to design a website, et cetera, et cetera. But I never really thought about them as virtual assistants or VAs in any way, or even just the term like remote staff or remote team member. They were just a service provider. That was kind of the way I thought about them.
Yeah.
And then when I started to look more and more and more into the whole kind of outsourcing game, because obviously we were in the outsourcing business at the time with our call center. We had a BPO center in the Philippines working with a lot of companies, from the US, the UK and Europe and that sort of type of thing. And so the outsourcing world wasn't new to me at all. But then when I started thinking back to when I was still, working in past jobs, we didn't have an in-house IT team. They would come in weekly. We didn't have an in-house accounting team. We would send stuff to them, so on and so forth. Because if you think about it, outsourcing has been around for decades and decades and decades, right? It's just called, it's just a sexy word for delegation, really, at the end of the day. And so the more I thought about it, the more, I kind of got into it. And I think Tim Ferriss did a great job in bringing that term virtual assistant or VA to a much, much, much wider audience, for which I will thank him if I ever get the opportunity to meet him, because he's helped me make a ton of money. So, I'm all about kind of just, wanting to maximize my time as an entrepreneur. I realized that time is my most valuable commodity as a business owner, as a leader, as an employer, as a husband, as a father. And so if there's anything that I can do to maximize my productivity, maximize my output, and get more done in less time, then I'll do it. And it's, now to the point, well over a decade later, where something lands on my desk or in my inbox, it's not how am I going to get this done or where does this go on my to-do list? The first question is always, who can do this for me? Who can I give this to do for me? Now, I'm blessed because I'm in that position, but I wasn't when I first started out. I rolled up the sleeves and did all the work myself, but that's part of growing, baby. That's part of, growing a business. It's that simple. But I don't know. I think it's just continued to grow, and it's funny, even though I've pivoted a little bit with Youpreneur and I talk more about personal branding and that expert-based business and work with a lot of coaches and authors and that sort of type of thing, the virtual assistant and the VA side of things is still very synonymous with my personal brand. People still ask me to keynote on the subject. They still ask me to do training sessions for, their members or their communities on the subject. And I'm all about it. Maybe it's because there's a best-selling book in place, Virtual Freedom, right? Which was 2014. Maybe it's because we still have Virtual Staff Finder still rocking and rolling. Or maybe it's just because people still need this stuff and they still need the guidance from somebody who's been there and done it before a few times. So I think, I'll continue to roll with it for as long as I can. I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
I'm sitting here thinking, I have one of my ears, I have my mom ears on, and this whole college thing. I'm listening to how you pivot and you create new systems and you go in and just solve problems. And your head is not in that typical framework that we tend to put everybody through. You left college as opposed to, and I was just having a conversation with one of my mastermind groups the other day about this, that all kids are different and why are we putting them in one box of the whole college experience, and you're just proof to that conversation that you didn't want to be in. This is how step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, your creative mind just goes out and attacks the problem in the way that you do. And then look where it's all gone from. Not to say that if kids are listening, you should all not go to college. My point
drop out of school, kiddos.
Parents need to understand that their kid is a certain way and they should follow their own path.
I agree. And here's the thing. So I have 2 kids from my first marriage. They're not kids anymore. They're 25 and 22, almost 26 and 23. And so my eldest, my son, he didn't want to go to university. And he was quite vocal about it. So I said, okay, well, let's sit down because, I'm a good dad. I got the money. You can go if you want. We got to figure out what you're going to do if you're not going to go and further your education. You can't just sit around playing video games or go start, like at this age, you ain't stacking shelves. That's a Saturday job for when you're 15 and you need, gas money or money to take your girlfriend to the cinema. This is real. This is the real world now. You're to the point where you're going to want to end up getting your own place in the next year or two, probably. And, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so he wanted to go into health and fitness. He wanted to become a personal trainer. So instead of investing in, you know, a 3-4 year college, you know, degree or university degree, well, I ended up helping him get those qualifications and set him up in that world. And part of something that came out of that was his love of videography and filming those sessions and stuff at the gym and all the rest of it. Fast forward all these years now, he's got an incredible career as one of the chief cinematographers of one of the largest fitness apparel companies in Europe.
Wow.
He's crushing. The guy, like, he's on airplanes all the time. Like, it's crazy. So, and then my daughter, exact opposite. I want to go to university. I want to study business. I want to, you know, So she just graduated. She's now working with us at Upreneur. She runs all of our social and takes care of all of our member services and stuff like that. And it's perfect for her because she's a marketing and communications graduate. So I think it really just comes down to being, you know, as parents, I think, and, you know, the word resilient comes into play. I mean, let's be real. Parents are the most resilient mofos on the planet, right? Let's not.
Holy mother, they are.
So I think, like, it's important for us to, you know, show them that we want more for them and that we are here to help them achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. But I'm just a big believer in just supporting what they want to do, plain and simple. You know, just supporting what they want to do. And we have 2 kids now. My second wife, we have a 12-year-old and a 3-year-old, and which is why I have no hair, evidently.
And you say that like, yes, no problem.
Yeah.
I sleep frequently.
So now, you know, but now I'm in a different spot than what I was all those years ago with the first 2, right? Yeah. Now, you know, I've got all these opportunities, and so, oh, man, it's life. You know, you just carry on. It's good fun.
You know, I'm listening to you though, and your philosophy as far as business kind of carries over into your personal life too. And I think where you talk about that listening, you have to really listen, because I mean, let's be real. If you try to force a kid into doing something they don't want to do, it just ain't gonna work. But quite honestly, the same applies to business. If you try to force, or you personally try to do something that's either not your brilliance, it's not your passion, it at the end of the day, it's going to flame out, because there has to be that part of it. So I want to kind of switch to talk about the Upreneur piece of what you do and how you support people. First of all, help them kind of figure out what the heck it is that their passion thing is, and then how you turn that into a business. Because of course, everybody wants to make money at what they love, but that ain't always the easy part.
It's about, for me, it's about discovering and remaining in your zone of genius as much as possible. That's it. So discovering what that zone of genius is, and it's different for all of us. And we'd even be in the same industry, doing the exact same things for the exact same type of customer avatar, but we have totally different zones of geniuses, right? So really discovering it and owning it and asking yourselves, what do I want to be known for? Like, what, when I'm not around, when I'm not at that dinner party or that conference or that coffee morning or on that Zoom call, and my name crops up in the conversation, what are people saying about me? That's your personal brand right there, AKA your reputation, right? So what do I want to be known for? Once you discover that, and that comes down to, like, really how you can help people based on your unique experience and expertise. That's basically it. So figuring out what you want to be known for, and then figuring out, just as importantly, who it is that you want to work with. Because, you know, I could teach millennials, you know, I could teach 24, 25, 26-year-olds how to build a powerful personal brand, and you know, grow massive YouTube channels and land ridiculous sponsorship gigs and all that kind. I could do that if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I don't want to work with those people.
You gotta
right?
do that with your kids.
So what I want, I got to deal with that at the dinner table. I don't need that, like, all day long. So what do I need? Well, what I want to do is I want to work with people that are kind of, you know, mid-30s and beyond. And, you know, I think my oldest client right now is 67 or something, mid-30s and beyond, people who have been there, done it, have had a real true blue career, regardless of industry or niche, and have now realized that they want to start taking it a little bit easier if they're a little further along in their life, or that they actually genuinely want to start cashing in on all that expertise. Because it's one thing that I know for sure, that is that people today are way more likely to invest in downloading your experience bank from your head and sticking it into the back of theirs. It's now, they're more likely to do that now than ever before in the history of the world. So if you've got 10 years of experience in one particular industry or niche, then you can quite easily turn it into a 6-figure plus business. Like, and within a year, like, you don't need to wait for that to happen, right? I had to self-edit myself there. I was going to go a little Gary V right there, but you don't need to wait for that to happen. Like, you shouldn't have to wait. You've been in it already for like 10 plus years, whatever it might be. You shouldn't have to wait to grow a 6-figure business. The difference between those that do it and do not do it is, quite frankly, mentorship and coaching and surrounding yourself with people who get it, that they're on the same journey. And that for me is, the stimulus behind everything that we do with Youpreneur, particularly the Youpreneur Incubator, which is our coaching and mastermind group. We've got people that have had 25 years in the financial industry who are now wanting to become best-selling authors and highly paid keynote speakers in the industry. We've got, mumpreneurs who have, been helping mums, coaching mums to living, less hectic, less stressful lifestyles through, or, organization, or, whatever the case may be. That's online courses, mentorship, coaching, live events, everything, all that is there. We've got people who are in the marketing communications world who work with big companies that are tired of going one-on-one with clients and want to go one-to-many and scale, right? So many different people we can help with what we teach. And that for me is the stuff that gets me to swing my legs out of the bed in the morning.
That's fantastic. You talk about this whole, I just keep coming back to the brilliance word, because we are so intent on that, because, we both had our own train wrecks and sucker punches. Kristen has the 2 blind kids. My son dealt with heroin and substance abuse for many, many years. But within all of that, we found this brilliance that it's there. It's this inherent thing, and the idea that you tell everybody, look, same thing, it's there. What's your unique brilliance? And then how can you take that and scale it and move it forward? So you're also talking about everybody making this their best year yet. And we're talking about making it your most brilliant year yet. So given these crappy global circumstances, how do we do that?
Well, I mean, you do it by leaning in to that uniqueness, or leaning into that brilliance that you have, right? Like, and actually doing it quite unapologetically, if I may be so bold to say as well. You could have, let's talk health coaches for a minute, right? Like, health and fitness is a big thing right now, particularly with, people not being able to, spend as much time away from home as they might want to, et cetera, et cetera. When you go into something like a pandemic, you might start eating more junk to make yourself feel good. Doesn't last very long. You might, have an extra shot of vodka or scotch in the evening because it makes you feel good. Doesn't last very long. However, the effects of doing that every single night for 6 months will last for a while, right? Yeah. And so I think health and fitness is a big thing. So it's a good example to use. I could be working with 2 completely different coaches in that industry, both serving the exact same type of individual. Maybe they're working with, executives that are burnt out in their 40s, male or female, that are handling a whole bunch of stuff in their life, and health and fitness could be the thing that keeps them sane, right? Like, keeps them getting up in the morning, whatever it might be. The coach who's going to do the best, not only in terms of monetary income, but in terms of actually serving their clients the best, the coach out of those 2 coaches that's going to have the best performing career is going to be the one that leans into their uniqueness more than anything else. So they could have exactly the same workouts, exactly the same diet list, exactly the same shopping list for people to go out and get the stuff for their diet, right? They could have exactly the same looking websites, everything. But that sales video on those two websites can be very different. The way you interact with people as part of the sales process could be very different. The way that you actually get people healthier is going to be very different. And whoever leans into that brilliance and into that uniqueness the most, and with the most unapologetic view of doing so, they will be the ones that are the most successful, because of the fact that they are being true to themselves, being true to the people that they want to work with. And because of that, they'll do their best work. It's really that simple, you know? So I mean, if you want to have a great year, just zone in on that kind of zone of genius that you've got, and be unapologetically you all the time. And here's a newsflash: not everybody's going to like you, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. What we want to do here is we want to market like a magnet. I say this all the time. Like, you want to attract the best type of people into your ecosystem, the people that are going to get you and your silly little jokes and that funny little hat that you might wear in your YouTube videos or whatever it is. Like, your vibe will attract your tribe, right? So ultimately, lean into more of that. Market like a magnet, attract the right people, but just like a magnet, at the exact same time, it's repelling away the people that don't get you, that don't like your vibe. You know, the people that, like, you know, after 29 days of a 30-day money back guarantee, they rock up and they say, I want my money back. We don't need people like that in our world. They can stay the heck away from me. I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm keeping it real. I don't need people like that in my ecosystem. So I'll repel those away by saying exactly what I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you got to do. Market like a magnet.
I love it. I saw somebody one time said, when people unsubscribe from your email list, cheer. You don't want them.
Yeah. A couple of reasons. Number one, they're not going to pay attention to what you're saying anyway. Duh. And number two, it's cheaper for you, because almost every email service provider out there will charge you based on the size of your list. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, oh yeah, no, I mean, we actually do 90-day cleansing. Well, I call them cleansing. My digital development manager, she calls them culling. Culling episode. Let's cull them.
The herd.
Yeah. So every 90 days we go into the list and we actually look if anybody has not opened one of our emails, and we email once a week. If we're doing any promotions or whatever, it could be up to maybe 3 times a week, right? But if you've been on our list for 180 days and you've not opened one of our emails, you're done. Yeah. You got your freebie, whatever it was you signed up for, you got it. Chances are you probably never even freaking opened the file to look at what you downloaded, whatever it is, right? So you're off the list. You're out of the will. You're cut out. That's it.
That's so freeing.
That's so Mary Fran.
It is so me. I'm like, yes, bye.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was talking to him and saying, "What's up? How's your day?" And Mary Fran's like, "Get out." Get out.
Oh.
I was talking to a good friend of mine. She's also one of my mentors. Her name is Carrie Wilkerson. She's amazing. You would love her for the show.
I'm writing her name.
I'll be happy to introduce you. She's a Texas girl. She's amazing. You're going to love her. So Carrie and I have known each other about a decade, and we're both in the kind of the coaching consulting game. She's a big keynote speaker as well over in the US. And long story short, we were on Zoom with each other about a month ago, and she was telling me about this new program that she's launching. And she's like, you know, I'm charging like $6,000 for this thing. I'm like, really? You don't feel like that? Maybe that's just a little high. You know, here's me like second guessing like one of my mentors, right? And she's like, you know what she said to me? She said, I'm done with the randoms. I'm done with the zero action takers. I can't be bothered with them anymore. I'm getting too old for this crap. If people are going to pay more, they're more likely to take action. They're the folks I want to work with.
I think I'm going to love this woman.
I get it. Oh yeah, you're going to love her. You're going to love her. I'll make sure that to do an intro for you.
That's hilarious. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, Mary Fran and I do a Discover Your Brilliance challenge. And then you're like that next step. I'm like, we need to now do an event together. Could you imagine how hilarious, that much fun that would be? getting people to, I mean, you guys can kick them in the butt about what their brilliance is and get out there and take action. Obviously,
yeah. My wife calls it, if you work with Chris, he will hold your feet to the fire when it comes to your goals, which I think is a really nice way of basically saying that I'm going to kick your ass if you don't hit your targets.
Mary Fran lights the fire. Then you can.
I do like the fire. I was going to say I might pour gasoline on it, but that's a bit much. That's a little over the top even for me. So Chris, this has been a phenomenal discussion, which we could continue for hours and hours and hours, but being respectful of your life over there in the UK, let's just let people know where we can find all of your brilliance, how they can get involved with you and connect and share some of your Chris Duckerness.
Well, if they're suckers for punishment, they can head over to chrisducker.com, or they can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all the socials at Chris Ducker.
Awesome.
And the book is available. You have 2 books.
Yeah. So Virtual Freedom, Rise of the Youpreneur, they're both available on Amazon, any good bookstore. If a bookstore doesn't have my books in it, it's not a good bookstore. That's the way I look at it.
You heard it here first, people. You heard it here first. Don't shop there.
Yeah, boycott the bookstore.
Oh my gosh, this was even more fun than I thought it was going to be, and I knew it was going to be a good time. And I will also add, if you're not on Clubhouse yet, what are you doing with your life? Get on Clubhouse because it's so fun, and follow Chris, because Chris is in the rooms that are so much value and good people. And I listen while I shovel the snow here in Philly, so it's good stuff. And then if you're still looking for resources to reset, rise, and reveal your brilliance, just go to brilliantlyresilient.net, blink 3 times, and this magical window is going to come up where you can put in your email, and we'll send you all kinds of things to reset, rise, and reveal your brilliance. And thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. We'll see you next time.